Dear friends, this is Vinney Chopra. Thank you for liking the podcast and all the shows. Vinney and Walter, we do that Abundance Mindset show, which goes live in all social channels at on Thursday at 9 a.m. Pacific, and also Vinney and Bo show, which goes also on Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific. And thank you for really liking the books and all the content that my team puts out for you. Please enjoy this episode. Thank you again. Thank you so much. Hi, guys. Vinney Chopra here. Apartment Syndication Made Easy, the podcast. Over 1,000 episodes, guys. Over
Wow.
1,000. And we've been downloaded maybe 1 million now, seems like. It's amazing. The key thing is really bring some great guests. And I've got a great friend who is well-known personality in real estate, in raising money, and we're going to have fun. His name is Tim Mai from Houston. And the good part is he's a great friend of mine. He's a fund manager. He's in real estate, of course, and entrepreneur based, also overcoming challenging neighborhood that included war, escape from pirates, and life in a refugee camp. He arrived in Houston at the age of 12. At the age of 12, speaking no English at all. And you'll see how good English he speaks. Tim has been an equity partner in over $100 million of real estate and also currently a partner in over 4,200 units. Those of you who are just trying to get your duplex or eightplex or 12plex or 300 million like some of my students are doing. That's the thing, multifamily units. He also founded Hero. Look in the back, Hero, which he'll be explaining to us, wealth fund, and working with the passive investors to help them achieve financial goals like Vinney, I do with Monil Elite Club. An educator at heart, Tim co-founded the Teen Millionaire Challenge. I love that. Oh, that's amazing. We'll talk about it. And has made notable contributions to charitable causes, which my wife and I and our daughter will love to contribute. Come, welcome, Tim. How are you, brother? How are you
I
doing?
yes, I'm super blessed, Vinny. Thank you so much for having me on this show. I am so tickled and honored and like blessed because I look up to you so much. You're always your energy, you're always so happy. You're the happiest person that I know. I know being an entrepreneur, being a business owner, we have our ups and downs, but you always bring so much light and so much happiness to everything that you do. I love you for that and love you who you are. And so I'm so honored to be on your show today.
I'm honored to have you on my show. Really, it's such a pleasure, and you're such a big icon in the social media. Everybody, please follow Tim Mai. He conferences and all the things that you give out unselfishly. It's so humbling, so great, so glad to have you. So let's dig into it. You came at the age of 12, speaking no English.
Yes. Yeah. So if you ever heard of the term Vietnamese boat people, I'm one of those. So what it means is that it's a group of people that after the war ended in 1975, and
Yeah.
you can't just leave Vietnam. If you want to leave, you have to escape out of Vietnam. And if if the government catch you, they'll put you in jail. And yeah, so my whole family had tried to escape out of Vietnam many times, but wasn't able to successfully escape out. And when my brother turned 18, I was 11 at that time. Back then, when a boy turns 18, it's an automatic draft into the military, and so a lot of boys would either try to escape out of the country or they would cut off their index finger so they can't pull the trigger.
Oh.
And yeah, so my parents wanted my brother to try to escape again, and he didn't want to go alone. So he asked if I wanted to come along, and 11-year-old little kid, I didn't know any better. I thought we're not gonna be able to make it out, and we'll be right back home anyway. So I said yes, and little did I know we were able to successfully made it out of Vietnam.
Oh my
And
God. So we
yeah,
went there to Cambodia and Vietnam. My wife and I and our family went there a 2 weeks trip, and it is such humbling experience. Loved it. Long River, the whole spectrum from bottom to the top. Everybody was so nice, so great food and everything. I remember. And the Angkor Wats in Cambodia and all. So how you came to Houston? So you've
Yep.
been in Houston, Sugarland, for a long time. That's
Yes.
how did you learn English then? Yeah.
So when we made it here, so we left Vietnam in 1986. I was 11, and we spent a year in the refugee camp. So by the time we make it here to Houston, I was 12. So I started sixth grade over again. And yeah, from then, that's how I started learning English. And
Learning English.
yeah, and it was just my brother and I, our parents. We didn't have our parents with us. And yeah, so we used to live in Section 8 housings. And a lot of the apartment complexes that we used to live back then looks just like the ones that we go look at now, like the Class C type.
Look at that. Look at that. You have a very humbling experience. Me too. I grew up sibling of 6 plus mom and dad in one bedroom apartment. It could be said Section 8, but it was actually given by the government to my dad, and we lived there happily. It's amazing. When you don't know the other side, you're happy where you are.
Yep. Yep.
That's the key. And when I came here with $7, I didn't know anything, but you're right. So let's go from there. How did you progress and into single family home for so many years? You got stuck there like me.
I know. So growing up, I was able to finish high school, doing college. I got recruited by an IT company. So I moved to Dallas to work. This is during the .com days, and my major was computer science. And so as you all know what happened to .com, it went bust. And so in 2002, the company went belly up and they laid everyone off. And so I was back to figuring out what I'm gonna do next, because here I am. I thought I've achieved my American dream, the dream that our parents had for us to come to America, get well educated, and find a good job. And yeah, I started to go to bookstores. The first couple books that I studied one was Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Oh my gosh, that is always on my desk. Right?
Yes. Yes.
Wonderful
And then
book. Lots of people have learned so much.
Yeah. And then the second book was Robert Allen, Nothing Down, because I didn't have any money. So learning about how to buy houses with no money down was how I knew to get in. But yeah. And then after that, I joined Robert Allen's mentorship group.
Okay.
And that's how I did my first deal in 2002.
Wow.
And yeah, so I just got, as I was doing deals, I got comfortable, and I've had friends that had gotten into multifamily. And back then I kept thinking, oh, those deals are too big, they're too complicated, they need too much money. Like all the limiting beliefs that I had about what it takes to do a multifamily commercial real estate deal, and versus the single family home deals, they were within my comfort zone. It's like I can do it in my sleep. And yeah, so it just kept me in the single family home. And it wasn't until 2021, April 2021, I hosted an event. Yes. And I had Robert Allen to come as a keynote speaker.
Yes.
And there at that event I met Javier Hinojo. I think you know Javier as well.
Yep.
Yes. And then in talking, he was saying, yeah, Tim, I used to do fix and flip, but these days I focus on multifamily and commercial real estate, and each deal that I do adds at least $1 million to my net worth. Yes. When I heard him said that, my ear really perked up. It's, wow, these single family homes, I don't make anywhere near that amount. And then, so his daughter, and this is how the Teen Millionaire Challenge project started. So his daughter was turning 16. My son was turning 17 at that time. Mm-hmm. And so I came up with the idea with Javier and with Robert Allen. I said, hey, how about we start a program for ages 16 to 19 years old and teach them to completely bypass single family homes and go directly into multifamily.
Oh, yes.
Yes. And so that's how the Teen Millionaire Challenge project started.
And the multifamily, just like the word multi means duplex, triplex, fourplex. A lot of time people think multifamily is like 100 units. Yeah, that will come later. But let's just start with that house hacking, right? We call it,
Right.
which
Yeah.
is fabulous. Living in one place, one side of the duplex, and the other resident pays for the mortgage. So you're living for free, or triplex, then two people, and quadplex. That's exactly what was the situation with me. We were buying homes when we got married 44 years back,
Mm.
happily married with my lovely wife.
Wow.
We have two
Congratulations.
children. Thank you. Thank you. We moved here. I was a motivational speaker. So we moved here to expand our company in motivation speaking and fundraising. My company moved me, but my friends were in real estate. They would talk every weekend, real estate. So having listening to people, you say, okay, I'll start also. So single family home, the comfort zone, like you said, trap, that's huge. Misconception about the scalability. I don't have money, that kind of thing, which we didn't. Fear of
Right.
complexity also put me away. I said, if the property management takes care of one home, it's easier. Understanding the cash flow potential, it was so low. Sometime I would make zero money from the single family if something needed to be fixed or things like that. And the risk aversion was the other thing which really kept me away. So then you got into multifamily. How did it really? You just started 3 years back and you are becoming such a big name. Tell me more about it. I know a lot of people would like to emulate you.
So when that program first started, I still didn't go into multifamily yet.
Ah,
I didn't go into multifamily until April of 22, which is a year later. And the reason why, like I heard Javier said it, and here I am participating in this program, this Teen Millionaire Challenge to teach kids about multifamily, but that limiting beliefs was still going. It wasn't until I get to through that program for the teens, I get to witness these little kids. They through that 1 year program, collectively as a group, they overwritten over $1 billion worth of real estate, sends out LOIs. They talk to brokers like it's nothing. They underwrite the deals like it's nothing.
I
And
love it.
yeah, and so watching them went through that process was the second click that it took for me to, you know what, I can do this. If these kids can do it, I can do it.
Totally,
So
totally.
yes. So yeah, so in April 2022 was when I decided I'm gonna go all in. And yeah, so I shut down as many things as I could that I have projects that I have going on. And then part of that process too, I talked to Javier, I talked to a number of people, and
Mhm.
and figure out which role I want to play in
Good.
the business that will play the best to my strength and to yeah to my skill set. And I realized that focusing on the capital raising aspect of the business was where I'm gonna do the best. That's gonna play to my strength the most. And yeah, so from there, because I've been in business now for 20 plus years, I
Mhm.
understand. I know marketing really well because that's one thing that I learned a lot from the single family home space is because you have to do high volume to make any significant amount of money. So I've learned a lot about marketing. So
Yeah.
yeah, so I when I started my Facebook group, I started doing the interview, which you were one of the very first people I interviewed 2 years ago. Yeah, and yeah, so from there, I just leveraged that community to build my brand, and then yeah, raise money. So I've done coach EPs, I've done fund of funds, where yeah, which is my current business model now. Is we raise money for our funds, and then our fund invests as an LP into the deals.
I love it. I love it. This is amazing. Lots of students in my academy or mastermind inner circle, they come and they follow me because at the peak we had 158 team members. Like I mentioned
Wow.
to you before the interview, 1.3 billion, we were managing it
Wow.
sitting here in San Francisco because we never moved to the places of our where the assets were. But the key thing is to have the systems, regional managers. My accounting department was 5 full-time people with the
Wow.
vice president of accounting. We have never missed a dime, not even lost a dime. It's amazing how the systems can help. But the big thing is, I think raising money, I'm so glad we're going to dig into that because a lot of people don't realize there is so much money around them
Yep.
where they are, relatives, friends, people, business people, or their vendors. They go to car care place, or they go to laundry place, or they go anywhere. There is $39 trillion in just the retirement funds alone.
Wow.
Savings are on top of it and everything. So having the mindset that a lot of money is there. So let's get into that. So how do you think building a brand is big, what you just said? Having a good website, having a good LinkedIn page, Facebook page, Twitter maybe, but the big thing is also to be able to be out there in the open.
Yep.
So share with us, how did
Y-
you start and your marketing skills, which I think a lot of people can really get a lot use out of it. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And one of the things that in my single family home side of the business that I did prior to, I was doing private lending, and then I
Mhm.
also did some hard money lending. So I
Yep.
understand the more passive investing side of the business as well, coming to this industry.
Sure.
And I realized that and one of the major reasons why I decided to focus in on capital raising and master that is because I look at the different aspects of the business, and I see that capital raising has the most amount of leverage, and it's one of those roles where you build that relation because it's all a relationship
Totally.
game. Yeah.
100%. Yep.
And what's powerful about it is that you only have to build that relationship once. And
Yes.
as long as you nurture that relationship, you can that yeah, that relationship can feed you for life, and potentially even like for lifetimes if your investor heirs decide to invest with your kids, like your heirs.
Totally.
And so yeah,
Uh,
I think it's number one, I love that it's a relationship game. And number two, I love that that relationship is just so much more leverage with that relationship.
mhm.
And so, yeah, so I just made it as a priority to, okay, I'm going to build as many relationships as I can and nurture that relationship, and then giving them an opportunity to invest into these deals. And yeah, so it's one step at a time. And then I learned too, because growing up, like a kid from Vietnam with no money, I catch how much limiting belief that I have, and I had to break through to it. And one of the things that helped me so much in breaking through to my limiting beliefs, my mind in the last 2.5 years that I've been in this industry, my mind has stretched and stretched so much. And because each week when I'm interviewing a top syndicator like yourself, I'm like, wow, if Vinney can do it, I can do it. If Zach can do it, I can do it. So every week I'm reinforced. If this person I'm interviewing can do it, I can
Yes.
do it too. And so, yeah, so all of that has helped me a lot. So it's not just the books and the tapes, and not just even the implementation, but I work on trying to surround myself with as many people that have been there, done that as much as possible.
Mhm.
So that way I can almost borrow their confidence. Oh, that
Mhm.
person has confidence to talk to family offices. I'm gonna borrow
Yes.
his confidence, so I can talk to family
I
offices as
love
well.
it.
And so yeah.
I love it. I give you accolade. I'm so proud what you have done in such a short period of time. My thinking when I started 18 years back with my investors from one investor, I always have felt one investor times 20. So when
Mm,
I deal with or give a presentation to an investor, I try to say that their family, their friends, their uncle, and their colleagues at work, they're going to be finding out about me through that person. So
mm,
that way, 100,000 could be worth 2 million. And literally, I have so many people. I had 53 investors, I remember, for many years, and they were bringing 100,000, 200, 250, 300. Now, one person has brought 29 million to me. 29 million, one person,
wow.
just one person,
Wow.
because he started believing in me. Then he invited me for Starbucks 45 minutes away with his buddies Saturday morning. They didn't let me pay for the coffee, and I just presented what I do and so forth. They started investing. So in the last so many syndications, I've done 40 syndications now,
Wow.
40 funds and syndications, and they kept on pouring money. Each one of their friends, then their children, all that, just like you said, heirs, right? So it's amazing. Everybody should look into every investor. It's the trust you build. And then tier investing. That's the other part, which really got me going was, Tim, just to share that I was getting 100. I said, you know what? Let me do 100, 200, 300 and give little extra split at the second and the third level. Then I went
Right.
from 100 to 250 to 500 to million. Wow. But I never went down 100. I might have given up some investors with 50,000 or something, but I thought in my mind, if I work with accredited investors, mostly they're rich people and they have 100,000 to spare, they will have more money, which they kept on going. I think our number one investor has 5 million with me. 5 million. Wow, who started with 100. They just kept on adding, right? But the key thing I find is that to really be trustworthy and giving them time, So give us some pointers. What 3-4 things come to your mind? What are in their mind for the investors and how you overcame those objections or their anxieties, things like that? Hi, friends. This is Vinney Chopra from here in Danville, California. And you might be saying, hey, Vinney, what are these over here? I wrote this book a few years back, Apartment Syndication Made Easy. It became top seller. I came from India with $7 in my pocket. It says 500 million. It's going to be 1 billion very soon, very soon. I'm right at about 850, 900 million. And then I'm ready for the next billion. Actually, you will see that happening, 2 billion in this book also. The other book I wrote, which has been a very big positivity, has been my life. Always, I've been married 43 years with 2 children, and the beauty is to be positive, the mindset that can take you to all the places in the world. And that's the book that also became big seller. My third book, Senior Assisted Living, is coming. So do yourself a favor. Go ahead and click the link below to get free copies, audio copies of these books, even printed copies of these books. Printed means digital if you can't afford it. But I would highly recommend for you to get these or go to Amazon.com. Just go to Amazon. I got it in soft cover, in hardcover, in Kindle, in audio, also the Spanish version of this book also. So let's crush it, guys. I know you can be successful. I know you can do the kind of things that you want to do in life and have the streams of income and know how to really, educate yourself so that you could become a strong force in this world in real estate. I know you can. So take that step. Don't just be on the sideline. Take charge of your life. Take charge of your education.
Each investor that I talk to, I never come into that relationship with, hey, I'm going to try to get this person to invest with me. I come in the relationship with, I want to find out about them, about their goals, about what they need, and whether or not they are a real estate professional, or do they have any passive income, or all of their incomes are active income. And so I started to learn about, even beyond real estate, I learned about oil and gas investments. I learned about equipment leasing. I learned about, so that way I come from the perspective of, okay, I want to be able to provide, at least make recommendations to my investors, regardless if they're able to invest with me or not.
Sure.
And I'll give you an example. One investor came to me and says, hey, Tim, my partner and I just sold our business. We need to write off 3 million. And I explored different options with him. And I was like, hey, because you guys are not real estate professionals, like the real estate play is not going to allow you to offset the money that you need.
Yeah.
So I recommend them to an oil or gas play. And I was like, okay, if you go that route, you can write off 80% of your investment. If you go the equipment leasing route with financing, you can write off more. So they ended up went equipment leasing route in that perspective.
Nice.
And
Right.
he was so thankful. He's Tim, I've never met, and he called me a financial advisor, which you and I know I'm not.
You
He's
and
like,
I are not, right? We are
yes,
not lawyers. We're not CPA. We're not financial advice. Thank you for saying that.
yeah.
By the way, this episode is for entertainment purposes, educational and entertainment. We're not selling any security or anything. No, please go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, so he was just thanking me. He's like, Tim, I've never met a financial advisor that so freely introduced me to other investments that
Investment
I make
opportunity.
zero money off of it. Like just because I just want to be of service. And
Yes.
yeah, so
Yes.
that's how I come in with all relationships. I was talking to a surgeon last night. Very similar, scenarios. Look, before we talk about any investment, I need to understand more about you and
Yeah.
your situation, and then I can best guide you accordingly.
So true, so true. It's if the syndicate, I hope everybody watching or listening to us, because it's also going to be cut into reels and videos and YouTube channel everywhere. But the key thing is you can be sued for malpractice if you don't find out the symptoms, just like doctors, right? Just attorneys. When they meet with people, they want to know why you came into the office. Similar situation is with our investors. You want to find out what their risk tolerance is, where they've
Yep.
invested, how much they've invested, what are their, what they're looking for, what's the challenge right now that you could solve or not solve. So I
Right.
think, thank you so much as a consultant. And you're educating them. That's why
Yep.
I think my brochure I designed 18 years back, $10,000 it cost me, because I went through the syndication route, and the syndication attorney went through the brochure, language, everything. And it's called Investor Education Brochure.
Mm.
That's all. And I still kept that name, Monil Investor Education Brochure. And I will take them through 30 pages of these beautiful diagrams and everything. And then I'll send them a digital copy, or I used to do presentations in hotels too, and all that. So I will have 30 copies made, printed
Mm.
color, and pass them out to everybody in the room, and then take it back. Then I'll tell them, I'll send you a digital copy.
I love that.
Save money.
I love that.
I paid a lot of lunches, people, a lot of lunches, because you got to invest in because if they feel good about who you are, and I meet at Starbucks all the time. Usually I don't bring them home. Sometimes they look at big mansion and everything. They think that this guy is making too much money off of, I mean, we have done well in real estate, but the big thing is I like to be at a common ground, maybe go to Hilton, meet there, things like, or Starbucks and things like that. But you're right. So let me ask you a question, if I may say. Partnership is huge. That's
Hmm.
what you're doing. So,
Yep.
how do you vet the syndicators? That's the big part. Fund managers and that. And then we'll go into fund of a fund structure model so that we could teach that also to other people. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Yes. And so, yeah, at first I started doing the coach GP route like most people.
Mhm.
And I quickly learned that it's not very leverageable because, yeah, like whatever the amounts that I can bring to the table, I'm limited to that amount to get the economics that I need. And so that's when I started learning more about the fund model
Mhm.
and partnering up with other fund managers. I'll give you an example. Let's say, Vinny, you have a deal.
Sure.
And yeah, let's say you have a deal. If me and a few of my friends can come in and we can bring in 5 million,
Yes.
you're gonna give us a very different economics than if we only brought $1 million. So that's how I started partnering up with other fund managers. So that way, collectively, we're able to raise more money. And yeah, and then also too, and in a way, I'm blessed that I started this multifamily right at the peak of the market. So I didn't have any deals that were in trouble because of the interest rate hike. I get to see a lot of people that got in trouble. So I was like, you know what? It's just way too much risk to invest with syndicators who are not proven, who don't have enough experience. So yeah, so my partners and I created sort of a buy box. We look for best in class operators. Most of the operators that we partner with, they have at least $200 million asset under management. They've been in business for at least 5 years, or they've got a number of deals that have gone full cycle. And yeah, so by starting with the top operators that are proven, it helps us tremendously in vetting those operators, right? Because we get to see, we know whether or not they have any foreclosures, we know whether or not they had any capital call, if they did have any, how they handle the investors, things like that. Yeah, so we created a whole like scorecard. So we score everything from number one, do they have any boots on the ground, where the asset is, how much AUM, how many years they've been in business, how many deals they've gone full cycle, any foreclosures, any capital call. Do I know any of their LPs? I will ask around too, because sometimes I know their LPs, and their LPs will tell me things that there's no way I would have known otherwise. Yeah, and one of the good things about me doing interviews is whenever I'm interviewing someone, and if their LPs happen to be in my network, the LPs would reach out to me and said, "Hey Tim, that person, blah blah blah. Like I'm going through a deal with them. So I get to hear a lot of insiders information that that I wouldn't have access to. Yeah, so we factor in all of that. We also factor in their financing. Yeah, whether they're using floating rates or not. We factor in all of that to come up with a score. And then that's how we vet the sponsors.
Love that. And also I say that who are the GPs, the general partner, who are on the loan, because too many cooks spoil the recipe, I say. So having that tenacity and the resilience and their cash power. I know in one time, I think my wife and I spent 3.2 million of our own money to save one asset in Atlanta, because I think Fannie Mae, I sold the asset or something, I remember, and the capex, I gave them, the buyer, 800,000 off, but they wanted me to do more capex while I'm close on the deal.
I
So
see.
anyway, but then I got a $8.5 million loan in 15 days. Wow,
Wow.
hard money loan plus our own money, and we were able to get it out of the Fannie Mae and with the hard money lender, and then we were able to sell it and everything. But you're right, having the resilience and having the cash positions are so important.
Yep.
So let me ask you then, do you do fund of a fund legal structure 506C with the accredited investors most of the time?
Yeah, so most of the time it's a C. There are exceptions. So there are exceptions. Sometimes we have an operator that says, "Hey, their deal is a 506B deal," and they will tell me, it's like, "Hey, we still have 7 slots for non-accredited investors. So if you want to bring on any accredited, that you can bring it in." Those are the only time that we'll set it up as a B, but otherwise, it's a C. And and then most of the time we'll use an SPV. So which is like one deal at a time.
Yep.
And my attorney is setting up a series fund for me right now. The difference between a series fund versus an SPV fund, just for the listeners to listen.
Yes, please.
Yeah, so you might have heard of like traditional funds. Traditional blind pool fund is where you raise money for the fund, invest in multiple assets within that fund. So that's a traditional fund. And the negative thing about a traditional fund that a lot of investors don't like is because they don't know which asset their money is in, that they're investing in at the time that they invest. And so what we're doing with the okay, so that's traditional fund. On the other side of it is the SPV fund. An SPV fund works just like a syndication, where you have 1 ppm for each deal that you're raising money for. And so the investors get to know exactly what deal it is that they're investing money in. Okay, so those are two sides of different types of funds. So there's a third type of fund called a series fund. You might have also heard of the term customizable funds or flex funds. Yes. What's powerful about a series fund is that you have 1 ppm at the parent's LLC level. And then each deal that you're raising money for, you have a separate LLC within the parent LLC. That deal goes into that one LLC. So your investor is able to invest into that one specific deal only without having to invest in all the deals within the fund.
I love it because I just did that. I'm so
Okay.
glad you're saying $50 million Monil Opportunities Fund. I just started, and it's the same way, 1 ppm
Yep.
and 385 pages long, by the way. And then it's deal structure within that one individual deal,
Yep.
but they have to only fill out 19 pages. That's it. It's the deal disclosure form, and SEC attorney designed it. I don't know if maybe I'd love to let all our audience know. Very good friend of mine, Badri, and
Yep,
they have
I do.
started Avestor Fund,
Yes.
Avestor.ai or something. And I am with them. And there are 200 fund managers they have now. And that's what, and I was just so happy with the lightning speed because I was raising money. I think I raised 1.3 million in 5 days with 7 investors of mine. And it's for a hotel, which is going to open up here coming up in May in the peninsula, in the panhandle of Florida. But anyway, but that was beautiful. Now I don't have to worry about, I can raise money instantly, right away.
Yep. Exactly.
So that's the one you're saying, customizable. When I paid 11,000, 12,000, 14,000, 22,000 per investment. So I paid, I'm sure you have paid a lot of money, but I love this Avestor deal, which is very similar to yours. Yeah. Thank you for
Yeah.
bringing that up. That's wonderful. Yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, Avesta definitely did a great job with popularizing that fund model for sure.
For sure. And when it's done nicely and everything. And one thing I'd like to tell everybody watching us, listening us, please don't think legal, you want to copy, paste, or things like that. You will get in trouble. PPM should never be copied because everything is separate, everything is different, deal specific. So
Yep.
it's always get legal help, SEC attorneys, real estate attorneys. And as a matter of fact, you and I never pay for these fees because we raise money. We raise money and then it's built in the program because we are able to have value adds and we have to have equity gains and all those things. So nobody pays for the legal fees. It's worth to really go the legal route, I wanted to say. Yeah.
Yes.
What else can you share? It's been a wonderful, wonderful
Yeah.
40 minutes with you. It's such a pleasure. What 3 things would you say a new person who wants to raise money, how
Right.
can they get started? Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So number one, if you've been stuck, like if you think that multifamily deals and commercial deals is too big, just know that yes, they are big, but there's a lot of collaboration in our industry,
Yes.
collaborations between fund managers, collaboration between operators and
Yep.
syndicators and deal sponsors. So don't be afraid. Like it's really just about you coming in and leveraging the expertise of other people that's already in this industry. And then as far as raising money, a lot of people come to the industry, they think that, hey, I have to go find a deal. I have to go,
Mhm.
yeah,
Complicated, very
yeah,
complicated.
I have to do all the different parts of the deal, and that's not true. It's actually you by doing it that way, you actually taking on a whole lot more risk because
Yes.
as a new person coming in, do
Mhm.
you really know the best way to do your due diligence? Do you really know the best way, yeah, to know the intricacy of what goes on and all the operation side of the business and the asset management side of the business? A lot of time a new person comes in, don't know that.
So true.
By Yeah, by focusing on playing the capital raising part of the deal and partnering with the experienced operators that know how to navigate those other things, you get to earn while you learn from them.
Yeah.
And yeah, and really capital raising is much easier than you might think it is. It's
Totally.
yeah, like I shared, it's all about first of all, you do have to learn the different aspects of in like what are the investors, what do they need, what type of money, what is their risk tolerance level. You do have to learn those things ahead of time, but
Mhm.
once you learn, once you learn enough, and it's not even a whole lot, but you learn enough to have a decent conversation. It's really about being of service to the people that have money sitting there in the bank account that's earning them zero, losing money through inflation. And so you're providing them with a great service by doing your best with finding the best operator that you can partner with, finding the best deals that you can perhaps invest yourself, and then bring your friends and family along to co-invest with you. And like I tell my investors, is like the reason why I want you guys to come along to invest with me is because if I'm investing only my own money,
Yes.
then I'm not able to, like, the cost of
Yeah.
setting up the fund and versus the amount of money is not very leveraged. But if there's 10, 20 of us, we
Yeah.
dilute a lot of expenses, which allows all of us to have a higher
Benefit.
return on our
Yeah.
money.
Totally.
Yeah, so it's all in conversations. You build relationship, you find out their situation, what's important to them, and then you do your best to find them the best deals, and you cherry pick the best deals that you can to allow your friends and family and your professional network to be able to have that opportunity to invest with you.
Fabulous. And again, just like we started the presentation, mindset, thinking big is so huge. And then using the confidence of other people so that you could be taking those risks. It's risky in the starting, but once you see the lingo and you're able to really go with the attitude of service and
Yep.
gratitude and really leaving an impact on that investor. And please practice your presentation with your family. I say that always.
Ah, that's a great
No?
idea.
Yeah, with your family, because they'll give you some objections and you incorporate them in the PowerPoint presentation. I always like PowerPoint presentation because it keeps me straight. And then I record. That's another hack I would love to tell everybody. I have always recorded. I have 758 investors now, by the way, started from one, and they
Wow.
are only myself, my daughter, my wife knows, and our VP of finance. Nobody else knows who these people are, literally. So the key thing is keeping track of them. Communication is the big thing. The other part is to record your presentation. So I always do that now. Have been doing it for last 10, 15 years. I record and send the recording to them so that they could show to their spouse, their
Mm,
doctor, their attorney, their deacon, anybody, or their CPA. I don't mind, or attorney. So that way, that brings more confidence because in 20, 30 minutes, we cover so much stuff that many times it just goes over their head. So I
right.
usually design shorter presentations, PowerPoints, and larger. And depending on who I'm talking to, doctors or IT people or like that. So that's how I was able to increase.
I
But thank
love
you
that.
so much. Any books you would like to tell that you're reading now, Tim?
Yeah, so have you heard of Michael Singer?
Oh, yeah,
So
very much. Yes.
yes, I he's my favorite author right now.
Oh,
And he has two very popular books. The one is called The Surrender Experiments, which I recommend anybody to read that book first. This is a gentleman, just for the listeners who don't know Michael Singer.
yeah.
He's This is a guy that after the college, he just wanted to move out in the woods to meditate. Okay. But by surrendering to his calling, one thing led to another. He ended up building a company that sold for hundreds of millions of dollars to WebMD. All he never said, it's funny because all the things that we think about what it takes to be successful, he never set goals. He never set out to build $100 million company. He never did any of that stuff. But it's just he knew how to listen to his inner calling, his inner voice, and
Wow.
just following that voice. And so that book is called The Surrender Experiment. And
Yes.
then and then he has another book called The Untethered Soul.
Oh,
And
yeah. Untethered
yeah,
Soul is where I have it in my living room, family room, actually. Untethered Soul. And in my bedroom also. I have
yes.
thinking about that. That's the one. You
Yes,
beautiful.
yeah, and I it's just Yeah, like the stuff that he teaches just very foundational. You can't
Yes.
argue with his stuff because it's just so basic. It's like very common sense type of information, but it's very profound.
Oh,
So
that's
yeah, I love he's my favorite right now.
oh, and Michael Singer, and you could even YouTube, just Google and go to
Yep.
YouTube. You will come to his some lectures, some render,
Yep.
and you would really love that. You will really dig deeper into your mind.
Yeah.
Tim, I want to thank you so much from the bottom of my heart to be with me today in the studio. And it's been such a pleasure. How many great nuggets you have given to the audiences. And thank you so much. How can people reach you? Because I want them to follow you.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on this show. I'm very honored and very blessed that you have me on. Yeah, the best way is to come to our capital raising party, which we
Yes,
do every Tuesday at 2 p.m. Central. It's a virtual meetup, and I also interview a top expert on the show. I've interviewed Vinney before. We're gonna interview Vinney here in another few weeks. And yeah, so go to capitalraisingparty.com, capitalraisingparty.com. And then Facebook, LinkedIn, I'm on there. If you just search my name, Tim Mai, MAI, you'll be able to find me there as well.
excellent, excellent. Thank you so much. Thank you, Tim. Thank you, everybody, for watching this show and all where it is. But please share, like, comment, and give 5-star reviews. See, if we get a lot of good 5-star reviews on, it takes just a couple minutes of your time, and we would really appreciate that so that we can bring great guests like Tim Mai and so forth. Tim, thank you, brother. And it's such a pleasure to be with you. And God bless you. And we'll see you next year. So happy New Year, happy holidays, everybody. And then Tim, I'll see you in January, brother. I'll bring
Yep.
all the powers to move the audiences.
Yes. Thank you so much. Happy holidays and happy New
Thank
Year,
you.
everyone.
Thank you, Tim.
Thank
Be sure to listen to Mr. Smiles next week with more golden nuggets and top-notch coaching tips. You can reach him by going to vinneychopra.com. Be sure to like, comment, and share to show everyone how Mr. Smiles has brought your apartment syndication business to the next level.